Hey guys, and welcome to another installment of my DAoC class reviews. Today I'm going to start on the Mauler. I'm going to start in the caster line because that's what my Mauler spec, and then I'm going to run through the fist wraps line and maybe some staff styles or whatnot. The popular specs are fist wraps and staff / aura, I believe, which is your casting spec. So we'll get into that. I'm going to do this in one take, so bear with me. No edits or anything, so we'll see what we can get through. So let's go ahead and get into to game right here. So what we are is we're on my Mauler. I'm going to run through the baseline stuff real quick for skills and abilities, things like that. I'll show you my spec, give you some template ideas, what's important for templates, what's not important. I'm by no means an expert on Maulers. I've played a Mauler in fist wraps to about rank 10. I've played staff Mauler to about rank 5. Nothing major on staff, but a lot's changed. I played fist wrap, so we'll go ahead and get into it. So aura, this is my primary spec. I guess I'll go ahead and show you my spec first. As you can see here, my primary spec is aura. My secondary spec is magnetism, and then I have some staff. And to be a Caster Mauler, that's the aura spec, but you need staff subspec essentially to make those abilities work. It's kind of a weird combination, but that's what they did with the Caster Maulers. It's kind of cool. In baseline, the most important part for Caster Maulers are these two auras, which are just self buffs. They're essentially stances or forms. So you get Aura of the Wild Bull and Aura of the Farseer. So these augment what your abilities do. So if you're in Aura of the Wild Bull, one spell might be a root. And if you're in Farseer, that spell might be a power leak or something like that. I don't know if that's right, but they change abilities like that. Anyway, let's see. I guess you don't really get a ton of baseline. There are some baseline abilities, I believe, in Aura, but we'll just go ahead and I guess go through the specs. Since Maulers are kind of a weird class when it comes to baseline, spec line stuff. Sorry, I need to plug in my headset real quick. Sorry I'm talking fast or kind of jumping through stuff. I just did my first video right before this, and it lasted for 40 minutes, and it was one spec line on Necro, so I'm going to try to go ahead and go faster. So anyway, we talked about the auras. The next thing, your self buff. It's just a 33 absorption buff, really strong. I think it's better than Chain. So it makes you a little bit more tanky, or a lot more tanky, I should say. The next thing, Gift of Renewal. It's pretty much a I guess it's just an instant heal. I don't really. Okay, yeah. So it's an instant heal spell. I believe is it offensive, or it might be offensive. It might be an offensive heal. 25% chance to proc. Pretty good stuff. Duration's a minute. 45-second recast. If you're soloing or whatever, you're hitting stuff, throw this up. Yeah, okay, so this is the baseline absorb, this 12 absorb, but in high aura, you get a 33 absorb. Okay, now here's where things start getting interesting for aura Maulers, and where these auras of the Wild Bull and Farseer come into play. So this ability it's either a staff weapon skill buff, or it is an evasion buff. Now, which buff this gives you depends on which form you're in. If you're in Aura of the Wild or the Farseer, which you can see up here, I just went into that aura, it will give you an evade buff. Now, if you are in Aura of the Wild Bull, it will give you a 25% staff weapon skill buff. So we'll go ahead and cast that in the Wild Bull. So now I have a weapon skill buff. It has a reuse, but you have to trust me. If I cast it in Aura, in Farseer, I'll have the evade buff. I guess we can wait out, 2 more seconds. So it doesn't cancel out your old buff too. So have the weapon skill buff, and now have the evade buff. So if you're soloing, whatever, both of those are good. I guess they're both good in groups too, but they're not your most important spells by any means. Here you get a base con buff. It's just a long duration con buff. So use that. Can't get sheared. Good stuff. Here is just a heal for it's either a self heal or a group heal over time, depending on what aura you're in. It's okay, you know, whatever, it is what it is. I can't say I really used it a lot. Maybe if I was soloing I would, but in groups, no, not really. Now here is this is why you go Aura Mauler, Aura Staff Mauler, is for this spell right here, Gift of the Nthuni. It does 500 matter damage or 500 body damage, depending on what aura you're in. Or sorry, 550. So that's a massive number. So let's look at my bot. My bot is let's see. Okay, my bot doesn't have a lot of resist. He's not templated, but he has 17 matter resist. So we're in Wild Bull, which gives me the matter damage, and then we'll nuke. So I did 707 damage. Keep in mind, my resists aren't great. I'll probably have, most people have 10% more resist plus whatever resist buffs you have, but it's a super hard hitting spell. I mean, if you get a debuff, if say a Sork debuffs matter for you or a Cab debuffs body for you, and you can assist off both trains, so it's all good, you're hitting so hard. So this is the reason you go the spec, is this massive 550 nuke. It's a 2.5 second cast time, really quick, just an absurd amount of damage. Now, let's see, what do we have next? Gift of the Perazor. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but we'll go with that. This is probably the second most important spell. So if you are in the Farseer line, it drains power from your target and gives it to you. So Maulers always start the fight at 15% mana. And if you use your nuke, you use 13% mana. So it's a really high power cost nuke. However, what you need to do is use your power drain first. So you use your power drain, and boom, my power went from like 6 to 38. Huge power drain, and it takes it away from your opponent, which can be super strong against things like Vamps, other Maulers, or even support. If a Bard pushes up and you power drain him, or a Druid pushes up, that limits what he can do in a fight because it drains a lot of power. Right now, my Cleric's at 45% power. I use one spell, and he drops down to 28% power. You use that a few times, they can be out of power. It gives you enough mana to cast, 4 or 5 nukes. It's great spell. If you're in the Wild Bull aura, it becomes a 73-second root, so a long duration root. It's a normal root. It doesn't have any weird immunities or unbreakable by combat or something. It's just your standard run-of-the-mill root. The thing about this spell is, though, it is 1750 range. So it's not your standard 1500 range spell. It's not quite bolt range, but you will outrange a lot of things with this. You can root, or you can power leak it with that. So you become really good at erupting. Say a Bard's pushing in to try to mess someone, you just throw this on him beforehand. Just power leak him a few times. He's erupted when he comes in. It's a great spell. Now your nuke, your 550 damage nuke is 1500 range. It's not 1750 like that. But so that spell, the Gift of the Perazor, your root and power leak, very important. So next is this 3-minute Reese timer, little self buff. It's pretty good. Increases your magic damage or your melee damage depending on what form you're in by 10% for 40 seconds. So most of the time I'll just throw this when I want to have a damage spike. I believe you can cast this while you are casting. We'll test it. So I'm going to cast this. Yep, so I casted it while I was casting. So say your MA has a big assist target, you start nuking it, you cast out while you're nuking, and then boom, you hit 10% harder. It's great. The level 50 ability, super strong. It's a 10-minute reuse, 5-second cast time. It is eruptable. I don't think you can move with it. Yeah, let's see. Let's try to erupt myself while I'm... Okay, well, dual ended. Anyway, so what it does is gives your whole group in a 2,000 unit radius a 25% magic conversion. So anyone that gets hit by magic for 30 seconds gets healed for 25% of that damage. So really strong. Just strong mitigation for your group. It also takes some of your group's power and gives it to you. So if you use this on ink, you get a lot of power at the beginning. You get, I think, pretty much full power if you're in a full group at the beginning with this spell, and it gives your group that mitigation. I don't like to use it on ink just because I think the mitigation is better later. A lot of damage doesn't get pumped out on ink. If you think a lot of damage doesn't get pumped out on ink, use it, I guess. I like using it mid fight. Sometimes you run out of power from nuking and you need that mitigation then. That's just what I do. Most of these spells, the important spells, you need 35 staff to use. So that's why you have 35 staff subspec. But yeah, that's kind of par for the course, what you got to do for it. Your subspec line for your spells are magnetism. Now, this is a really important spec line, super good spec line. I'm going to hit the high points. One of the best spells, I think, in the game is this Take a Shirik's Negotiation. What it does is it blocks 21% damage from a target and returns it to you as power. It's castable on yourself or group mates, lasts for 30 seconds, 15-second reuse, so you can have it on 2 people at once if you cycle it well. So yeah, it's a 21% damage absorb. That's super strong, 21%, up pretty much all the time. So you're in a group, your armsman goes in, he looks like he's about to take damage, throw it on him, and you get a ton of power back, and he gets, instead of getting hit for 1,000, he gets hit for what, 790 damage. Insane. Well, armsman's not gonna hit that hard. If he gets hit for 100, he's getting hit for 79. Super strong. Your caster starts getting trained, throw it on him. You get a lot of power, he stays alive. Yourself included, do it to yourself, whatever. The other really cool ability in this line is this Unbending Armor. And what it does is, let's see, let's dual challenge my bot. Let's dual accept. Okay, what this does is an uninterruptible and a castable on the move root, cone radius. And the crazy part about this is, okay, it resisted, and it's a 10-minute reuse, so I can't really show you. I'll just explain it to you. It's an unbreakable root that lasts 1 minute and 9 seconds plus duration. So that person's literally sat there for the duration of it, even if it starts getting nuked. So it's insanely strong. It can be resisted, as you saw, and it has a 10-minute reuse, so use it wisely, but it's an unbreakable root. It's crazy. Another really good, it does not give immunity to, it does not give root immunity. And if they have root immunity, yes, I believe you can still use it. Pretty sure you can still use it on root immune targets. It's been a while, but yeah. The other root in this line, Greater Burden, is a PBOE instant root. It's breakable like normal roots. The thing is, it does not give root immunity. Really, really powerful. However, if a target is root immune, it will not actually affect them. But at the end of the root, it does not give immunity. So that's super strong. See, boom. And then, if you can tell, bot's root obviously can't move. I'm going to hit it, break the root. Okay, now it's moving. I'm going to cast a root on it to show you it does not give root immunity. And then boom, he's rooted. So strong. Anyway, next we have this little PBOE. It's essentially a zone of unmana pulse, cast time increase for bad guys that are in it. It's a pulsing ability, drains mana. Still really good. Vamps on you, use it. If you're up in some druid's face, use it. Other ability is this this PBOE snare pulse, similar to the cast time increase pulse. You can have them both up at the same time. They share the same reuse, but once they're on, you can leave them on and then cast the other one. See, this is on and now this is on. If you look in my pulse window, both on, both pulse. It's a really good snare to keep up with stuff or to get stuff off you. This is a cone matter debuff, not super important, not super high value. This spell is a single target, pulsing slow. It's a focus spell, so once you get out of range or turn it off, it stops working, but it's really strong. If you need to catch up to something, get something off you, you can use that. It does give you immunity, so be careful with it. But however, if you cast on someone, as long as it pulses on them, it keeps them constantly interrupted. So that's really strong. Let's see. Power strikes don't really have much in there, so not really worth looking at. And I'm just going to quickly go over the Mauler melee line. I don't really use it a lot, other than the positional styles. The back style, for example, is a 7-second stun. Super strong. Just one part back stun. Let's see what else is good that we use. Actually, This turbid staff is an anytime chain that chains off a wild swing. Wild swing gives you blade turn penetration for 9 seconds, so that's nice. And then the follow-up style gives you in combat movement speed increased by 50 seconds for 9 seconds, or sorry, by 50% for 9 seconds. So that's good. It's essentially a self crescendo sorta. If you can use that, if you need to kind of run away from something, or you're just hitting someone, use that anytime chain. Gives you a speed boost. Can't really be mad about that. The other thing I use is a side style. It's a 5-second side snare or side stun. So you have good self peel. You can, a vamp comes to you, you can side or back stun it if you can run through. You can help peel off your friends with those. You have no melee snares, but those are pretty good styles for peel. The other stuff, not really important, unless you are soloing on this, which I guess the spec you can solo on. I don't know how good it is. I've never done it, but you have a front style that has like a little damage proc and power return. Part of your other anytime option is to give you a little damage add, essentially. You've got just a couple more things. A side snare, or your follow up to the side stun takes away their ablatives, evade chain that or evade style that reduces their melee speed. Some just good stuff, but I don't really use any of that stuff for groups, which I think this spec is primarily built for. Like I said, I think you can solo on it, but there are better Mauler specs for that. Template for this thing. So your spells that you're using the most, your root / power drain, those are 2.5 second casts. So all you need is what, 262 dex, is that right? Yeah, 262 dex. So template that much dex. That you get to that break point. Your damage isn't really based on anything that I can find. It's not based on acuity, not based on dex, not based on strength for your nuke, that is. So you don't really have to template a damage stat for your casting abilities, but you do want the dex, you do want resist. The new curse stuff's really good. You probably want those heal gloves if you can fit them. It heals you for 25%. It's a mini IP, usable in combat. If you're soloing, you probably want the Ghostly Medal of Valor necklace for the heal over time charge. I like having melee and magic resist charges in all my templates, so try to get that in there. Power charges don't work, so don't worry about that. Yeah, obviously, if you can, use the boons like the Otherworld Ring and the new Chapter 6 bracer. Other than that, it's your standard stuff. You just want to get as much dex to reach that 362 cap, 11 to your abilities, and then whatever else you can fit in there. Duration. Obviously, you want your spell pierce, your spell damage, all that good. Your cast speed capped. That's important. But yeah, it seems pretty simple to template. Yeah, it's pretty simple. As far as RAs go, get as much Ogdex as you need to hit that mark. I have Ogdex 5, or Ogdex 4, but I don't need that much at all. I think they just changed the cast speed on those spells, so the breakpoint shifted. It used to be 374, now it's 362, so I can drop my dex down a little bit. And then yeah, just get whatever damage RAs you want and purge. You can also get Det if you think you want Det. As a Caster Mauler, I don't think I really need it. I'd rather do more damage. So I didn't buy Det. I bought some Purge 2. You can get Purge 3. So yeah, those are the RAs you probably want to get. Let's see what else you can get. I think you can get Dual Threat. Yeah, you can get Dual Threat. So once you get to the point, I think it's like Wild Power 5 or 6. The next point of that Wild Power costs 5 points. Dual Threat 1 costs 5 points. And gives you the same 5% to crit. So I just get Dual Threat 1. It helps your staff to crit. It's not really that important for what I do on Mauler, but it's same cost, I guess, for better return, or same return. The rank 5 on Mauler is super strong. What it is, if you remember the magnetism single target shield buff, it's essentially a group version of that. And it's 25%. So it blocks 25% damage of your whole group and returns 25% of that damage as power to you. So it gives you a lot of power really quick if your group is taking damage. And it's just an insane mitigation tool for your team. And it lasts a minute. It lasts a minute and 25 seconds if you have, or not 25, but a minute and about 20 or so, 18 seconds if you have 25% duration in your template. Like I said, so if your sorks can hit for 100, normally they get hit for 75 with this buff up. Super strong. MLs, you can go Warlord. I go Battlemaster, just in case I need to bodyguard someone or grapple or something. Warlord's not a bad idea either, though. Yeah, let's see. That's pretty much it. Any other RAs I'm missing? You can get Twiff if you want on Mauler, but with this spec especially, I just rather get damage RAs for my cast. If you're soloing, Twiff's probably a good idea. IP, whatever. I have no experience on solo with this spec. I think there are better specs to go solo. Reflex Stack good solo, but like I said, this is mainly for group, this spec. But yeah, so I think I hit most things. Strategies would include, with Mauler, you can root some out 3 times if you have magnetism and this aura root. So what I like to do is, what you need to do at least, is either start out with your unbreakable root or your PBOE root, which is at 37 mag, and the unbreakable is at 38 mag. So root them with your PBOE root, and then that does not give immunity. So then you can unbreakable root them, which does not give immunity also. And then once they come out of that, you can just use your aura root, which gives immunity, but use that last. So a vamp flies in, or a champ or something, or you want to root out a druid, you hit it with the PBOE root, and then later, once it's out of that, you go back and hit it with the unbreakable root, and then you hit it last with your casted normal root out of aura, if that makes sense. So you root someone 3 times. If you have a Sork with you, or if you're on Hib or mid and you have a Velwalker or whatever Icar's on those realms, Shaman, Valkyrie, then you can, with their help, root out someone 4 times with an Icar, since Icar resets root immunity. Really strong CC class. Other than that, just use whatever damage type on this nuke that you have a debuff for. On all realms, like on Hib, I think it's I can't remember the damage types. It's like cold and energy or something, or heat and energy. So it's they gave you damage types to nuke off the common debuff train. On mid, I'm sure it's spirit and like cold. So you can always, or not always, but if you have a debuffer, it's likely they'll be debuffing for you already. So use whatever damage type you need. To use that damage type, you just swap to the correct aura of the Farseer, or aura of the Wild Bull. Wild Bull does matter. Farseer does body. It'll be different on other realms, obviously. Start a fight, you always want to start off with a few power taps. You don't want to just start nuking, because you'll run out of mana in one nuke. Like in 2 power taps on this cleric, I'm at 80% power. And that means I can do 1, 2, okay, I'm like killing this guy. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can do 7 nukes off 2 power taps on ink. I could have done another one, but I would have killed my bot. So you can do 7 nukes off 2 power leaks if you power leak like a bard or something on ink. So that's pretty strong. And anyone that takes damage, use this your mag little shield thing, your single target shield. Like I cast it on him, my bot, and I'll nuke it a few times. So before I was doing 715 damage to him. Now I'm doing 564 damage to him. So a massive difference. And if you saw, it gave me power. So I'm actually, I get power for whatever damage is done, and they get hit for a lot less. So super strong ability. My damage literally went down like, 170-ish or something like that. Just quick math. That's super strong. So yeah, put down anyone that's taking damage, yourself included. That about wraps it up for Mauler. If you have any questions, that wraps it up for staff or a Mauler. I decided I'm going to split up the Fist Wraps Mauler into a different video since this one ran way too long also. If you have any questions about the spec or any suggestions, maybe things that I missed, throw it in the comments. I'm sure I missed something. It was a quick off-the-wall overview, and like I said, I'm not super well-versed in the spec line, but If you have any questions or suggestions or tips or anything, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.